Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, Healing the Planner from Within. My name is Santosha and I'm talking quietly because I am at a Vipassana meditation center, which is like a monastery. Actually, it's actually behind or part of this massive monastery and very ancient temple with ancient Buddhist relics in the temple area. I'm in Thailand, just 2 hours from Chiang Mai. And in this video, I really wanted to cover how to stop incessant thinking. I've had a lot of people on my YouTube channel make comments or even message out to me through my booking calendar. I'm just asking how to stop incessant thinking. So I thought it was a really good time to go through that because right now I'm in deep meditation practice. Yes, I do have a break from time to time. Of course, this is one of my breaks. And I thought I'd take this moment just to share with you some of the techniques that I've learned from gurus, yogis, and my teachers about how to work with incessant thinking or ruminating thoughts, or those thoughts that keep rolling on and on and on and on again. So what I've done is I've actually learned from these teachers, gurus, monks, and then applied the techniques to my everyday life and to my incessant thinking, and I can tell you that they work. So what I'm going to share with you are some very powerful tools that you can use to stop your incessant thinking. To be honest, when before I came across some of these techniques, I had a lot of incessant thinking. I was carrying a lot of karma that carried a lot of trauma, and the trauma kept creating itself in my mind mostly. When I think about it, it's quite humorous, but it's just our mind. The mind was creating all this anxiety and panic and fear and depression and everything. And when I started observing this and started working with these techniques that were taught to me, I could observe the thoughts and not put value to them anymore. And then they don't work. They don't keep going. And like the obsessive thinking is not part of my patterns anymore. Now, to be honest, I've been working with this for quite a few years, right? My personal development, spiritual development journey has been for at least 26 years now. But it's only been at the beginning of this year that I learned these techniques in Theravada Buddhism in Sri Lanka. Then I finally got this light bulb moment, like, wow, I don't need to have my thoughts controlling me anymore. So there's a few things to observe in this, and we're going to go through it step by step. So be sure to watch the entire video and take notes about some of the things that I'm saying so that you can refer to those notes later on to improve your practice, yeah? This is super important because sometimes we watch a video on YouTube and we don't pay a whole lot of attention because then we just get on with our everyday life and we don't practice the technique. But when you write it down, it's there to remind you, like, all right, I've got to practice this technique, right? So yeah, that's how I first started going, by writing things down and trying to remember them in everyday life. The reason why we have trouble with doing these practices is because we're on automatic pilot in our daily routine, habits of thinking and feeling and doing, right? Now these habits of thinking and feeling and doing do generate the obsessive thinking. So it's important to be aware of the habits. So that's point number one. But before I continue with this, I just want to mention, I'm on this very deep spiritual development journey. I'm here currently at a Vipassana meditation in Thailand. I just spent 4 months in Sri Lanka, and I don't know where I'm going next. So you're on this amazing journey with me, witnessing my spiritual development practice and learning while I grow as well, which is super fun. But I really appreciate your support. I've got a variety of different ways you can support me. One is simply by subscribing to my YouTube channel hitting the notifications button so you're notified when new videos come out, making comments on the videos, just being interactive with it. And if there's a video I share that's really valuable to you, like this one, and you can stop your incessant thinking now after watching this video, maybe then go back to the video and share it on your social media. So those are a few ways to support me easily. And then of course there's some really amazing other ways that are really more fun and interactive. And the first one is to support me on my Patreon. I did start a Patreon account so that people can jump on board and receive my support. And if you ask for something in my Patreon community, I will give it almost anything. So if you want to learn something about my behind the scenes, join my Patreon. Or you simply just want to learn some of the lessons from my integrated healing program and the practices that I've done throughout my life to take my life to this level, they're all in Patreon. Seriously, you can just dive in and really study anything. It's there for you. The other way, I would love you to go and purchase some of the things in the shop. I've just recently created some merch, and that was really fun to design the t-shirts and the cups, the mugs, the concept overall of the messages that I'm putting out into the world. Because I'm on a mission to teach 1 million people how to raise their energy vibration to improve their life, right? And I know by scientific research and ancient healing modalities that when you raise your vibration, it does improve your life. So I've got the evidence behind that I mentioned on other videos. So go binge watch my entire YouTube channel, yeah? And make some comments below. So so raising your energy vibration, one of the things that you'll need to do is learn how to stop incessant thinking, right? It makes sense. Your incessant thoughts are negative. Like, how often do we have incessant thinking that are in the positive? I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but they're negative, right? So incessant thinking automatically lowers your energetic vibration. And my whole purpose is to teach 1 million people how to raise their energy vibration. So teaching you how to stop incessant thinking is brilliant. So first of all, when you start incessant thinking, just pause that thought for a moment and wonder, why did this first start? And start to develop your ability to observe the patterns of how it began. Was it because somebody was doing something wrong by you? You did something wrong that triggered a negative pattern in your life. You haven't forgiven yourself. You've got guilt, shame. Did someone manipulate you, use you, abuse you, and you can't get over it? Did you have a breakup? Someone's cheated on you? Incessant thinking comes from something. Find out what you're obsessing about and identify it. Number one, this increases your conscious awareness, right? Okay, so that's really important. So write that down in your book to observe the incessant thinking when it comes. Try to identify its source, right? In increasing conscious awareness, you can then observe the thought when it comes next. And that gives you the power to control it rather than it controlling you and your feelings and emotions. You can start to control the incessant thoughts. You can stop them. You can change them. You can transform them. You can laugh at them. You have control when you can observe them, is when you can control them. If you can't see them and they just keep rolling in your mind, you can't do anything. You're helpless. First thing first, increase your conscious awareness of your incessant thinking and the source of where it came from. Then also, how it feels in your body when you're incessant thinking. When you're ruminating about something and you've got these thought patterns that continue, how does it make your physical body feel? I remember there was one time when my daughter was in preschool and I just dropped her off. I was sitting at the traffic lights. I was on my way to the beach. I was going to go for a beach walk. And in my body, I noticed that I was tense, tight, and a migraine was coming on. And I stopped myself in that moment, sitting at the red light going, why am I so tense? Why am I getting a headache? Questioning it. Another technique to write down, questioning, why is this happening? And then I saw in my thoughts, I had it was an action-packed movie in my mind about terrorists had taken over the preschool, and I had to dive in to save the children. Literally, I was diving in through a window, doing a somersault roll like in an action-packed movie, in order to save my daughter and the other children at this preschool from the terrorists. Now, these were terrorists in those army outfits with these big gorilla guns. And I was sitting at traffic lights going for a beach walk with this going on in my mind. It was hilarious. This is honest, true story, okay? When I started watching my thoughts, I started to become aware that they were creating my anxiety, my depression, migraines, headaches, the whole lot. And I laughed out loud in that moment, my hands on the steering wheel. How silly am I to have that thought? It's not based in reality. And then, of course, the headache went, the tension went, the depression, the panic went, the anxiety went, the heart palpitations started calming down. Yes, absolutely. Observing the incessant thoughts, observing your physical body reactions increases conscious awareness. Okay, so I got the foundations down pat. The next step, once you got your conscious awareness happening, the next step is really quite fascinating. There are two techniques that I learned from a monk in Sri Lanka. Now, this monk from Czech Republic, and the way he taught made sense to my mind. I was obsessed and thinking like crazy. Some trauma, chaos had just happened in my life, and I couldn't let it go. I was furious, right? And he says, just observe the thoughts. Wow, these thoughts were incessant. They were insistent. They were persistent. They didn't let up. I was like, I can't observe. I'm observing the thoughts, but they keep going, I told him. You know, how to deal with these incessant thoughts. And they draw upon two bits of knowledge from Dhamma, from Buddha's teaching, which was absolutely fascinating. And the one technique, he says, was to categorize them in different folders. Seriously, this is super cool. So what I started doing is, like, when I had a thought about this particular person, I would label the folder in my mind, visually seeing the folder. And then as that thought popped up, I went, oh, that belongs in that folder, right? I was just file folding the incessant thoughts. And then I had another thought pop up. I didn't have a file folder for that one yet, so then I made a new one up here someplace. Okay, that goes there. And eventually the thoughts would come up. I was observing the thought. I just put it in the file folder. It did not trigger my feelings and emotions. I was able to maintain a state of equanimity, balance, without getting triggered by my thoughts again, the feelings and emotions. I didn't feel rage, depression, anxiety, panic, fury, injustice. Nothing like that was coming for me anymore. I was observing it and file folding it. Oh, powerful technique. Works instantly. Okay? And he says it works for everyone. He's known this, tried it before. The other technique is quite fascinating, and it really helps you analyze the amount of thoughts we have. This next technique didn't work so well for me. It's the file folding one that worked really well. So the other technique, though, I do want to share with you in case it works for you. And you get a counter, one of those, you can count your steps or count, those counting things. And you choose, you don't need a counter, you can count it by yourself with your fingers perhaps or something, but you choose a particular area to walk. So for instance, I've got a room here, maybe 3 feet, maybe 4 feet. And I would walk, 4 meters, 3 or 4 meters. I would walk the distance of this, counting my thoughts. How many thoughts did I have from here to here? Just counting them, analyzing. the amount, the number of thoughts you have within one distance. Then you keep walking it, and you keep counting your thoughts every time and reduce the amount of thoughts that you have. So each time you walk it, so let's say the first time you walk, you have 50 thoughts. Okay, the next time you walk, you're trying to get that down below 50. Only 40 thoughts pop in your mind. Yeah, we have a lot of thoughts. The monk told me that one person, when he was walking, now it was longer than this room size, when he was walking the meditation path, he had over 300 thoughts, and they had these clickers going. I haven't thoroughly tried this technique for myself because the file folding one really worked for me brilliantly. But if that one didn't work, I would have started the counting one and see if it worked. I think most people do the counting one first and then the file folding one to see what works for you. Now I can just add another technique that has worked for me to increase conscious awareness of the thoughts, is to start doing what I call a brain dump. Now, I tell all my clients and students to do this as part of their daily practice when they first start working with me, because you can't do much in your personal development, your spiritual development, and your own healing if you're not aware of the thought patterns in your mind. You're looking for the patterns. You do a brain dump where you get a piece of paper and a pen, and you're just writing down the thoughts that are in your mind. So you're watching your thoughts. You think, right, this is stupid. You write down, this is stupid. Then you pay attention to the thoughts again. I've got to get groceries later. I've got to get groceries later. Write down every single thought. It's not a thought journal. It's a brain dump. You're putting whatever in your brain on paper. If you come across something negative, you'll be resistant to writing it down. Because it's ugly, you feel ashamed, guilt, frustrated, critical towards yourself. You'll stop. You don't want to write it down. But the idea is, don't be judgmental about it. Just write it down, because you're looking for those patterns. The idea is not to be critical and put yourself down for the thoughts that are in your mind. They're just patterns and habits. Thoughts are not truth. They are just patterns and habits. So when they come to your mind, no, they're not the truth. They're just a pattern, a habit of the mind. That's all they are. So the idea is just to be that private investigator and write it down. And after, I recommend 2 weeks to do this, 5 minutes every day. Just sit down and write down the thoughts in your mind. You'll have a lot of thoughts written down. And the idea is, after the 2 weeks, after your time limit, you agree to yourself, okay, I'm going to do this for 2 weeks, 14 days, blah, blah. After the 14 days, you analyze. And you circle the ones that are similar patterns. So, for instance, one pattern would be in green, circle it in green. The next pattern would be in blue, circle them all in blue. The ones that are related to it, then find the patterns. Then write down the patterns separately. Now you've increased your conscious awareness of your thought patterns and habits. Then you can start becoming more aware of how they make you feel and start stopping them in the moment. And yeah, absolutely, this is one other technique. So I'm hoping you're writing them down, because I am kind of hopping between techniques, right? So I'm hoping you can write them down and put them in order according to what will work for you. But one technique that is also very good is that when you do catch it, because you've got an increased conscious awareness, is you say stop. Well, for me, just increasing conscious awareness worked when I was in that car on the steering wheel, feeling totally stressed and anxious, going for a beach walk. Just dropped off my beautiful daughter from preschool, and I've got this crazy movie in my mind going, and feeling the migraine come. Why am I feeling so tense? The thoughts. I didn't have to tell them to stop. I just increased my conscious awareness of them, and they stopped because they were ridiculous, not based in truth or reality whatsoever. I still remember that. It's such a fascinating journey. That was like, when she was in preschool. That was 20 years ago. I was working on my thoughts and my abilities. So you can see I've been on this journey for a long time. Like, my daughter's now 26, so you can see the time there. Okay, so, well, I hope this gave you some fantastic ideas about how to work with your incessant thinking, how to stop the ruminating and the negative patterns of the mind. our mind does play a big role in how we feel every day. And of course, I know you want to increase your happiness, right? Just like me, I want to increase my happiness and joy every day. So working with incessant thinking is definitely one way to increase your happiness, satisfaction, and improve your health, actually, because obviously if you're happier, you're healthier. So we are actually working on raising our energetic vibration for the purpose of healing the planet from within. Because I know that if you're in a higher vibration, that affects different people around you, it affects the environment around you, and you feel really, really good every single day. Imagine what everyone else would start to feel like. They also would start to shift. Maybe resistant at first, but eventually you'll see everyone around you start to shift. And that changes. There's a ripple effect that goes around the planet and the energetic vibration of the world. And yes, I believe this has a bigger purpose of healing the planet from within, but bringing everyone into a state of conscious awareness, and then the world's going to be a beautiful place. So I am really hoping that I can get this message out into the world. I'm on a deep spiritual journey myself, doing my own practices, because then I can share some juicy goodness with you. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time today. If you could please just hit subscribe and join me on my journey. As I mentioned before, I'd really love your support on this journey, and I certainly hope that this video you gain some valuable techniques to stop your incessant thinking. They don't need to be in your head anymore. They're no longer in my head anymore. I don't allow it. So you just, don't allow them and just learn how to work with them. Gain the tools, techniques, practices, and binge watch my entire YouTube channel because you'll learn tons. So, okay, thank you for watching and many blessings for your journey.